episode number 81. My name is Krista and I'm your host. It's August 21st, 2024, and with August being National Breastfeeding Month, I thought this was a timely opportunity to revisit my breastfeeding journey with my daughter. In a nutshell, getting started was not easy. So on today's show, we're rewinding back to a very early episode of the show, episode number 3, where I cover the hurdles we faced and the resources I used to overcome those obstacles. I wish I would have been more prepared on the front end. It would have reduced so much stress amidst the normal stress of adjusting to first-time mom life. I especially wish I could have had this episode or something comparable to it when I was 6 or 7 months pregnant. So if you know of an expecting mom, please do her a favor and share this episode with her. I have a lot to uncover in today's show about breastfeeding. But before we get into that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in, Mama. I started this podcast because babies don't come with instructions. As of this recording, I'm chasing around a 6-year-old that no amount of Googling, mom groups, or books were able to prepare me for. There's a lot of stuff people don't talk about when it comes to pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, postpartum, parenthood, and as someone who was previously terrified of all of the above, I'm here to help you pull back the curtain on all of it. And every now and then, it may get a little messy. We may share a little TMI, but that's why you're here, right? My goal is you'll leave every episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and hopeful knowing you are not on this mom journey alone. Now, there's a lot of subject matter to cover when it comes to mom life, and we are covering it all. If you're not following this podcast yet, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. Now, let's rewind back to episode 3 with breastfeeding tips for first-time moms. So if you heard the first 2 episodes, now you're on episode 3, you know that the next step really in this mom journey is feeding the baby. So I was breastfed. My mother breastfed me. I can't remember how long. I should remember that. I'm sure she will know how long she nursed me. But I know that my mom was definitely a proponent, encouraging me to at least give breastfeeding a try, knowing that any amount that I could do would be worth it for baby. So I remember being in the hospital and then I believe they asked me, do you plan to breastfeed or are you going to use formula to feed baby? And so I let them know that I was planning to breastfeed and they said, okay, well, we will bring her to you and we will go over some different ways that you can hold her to ensure a proper latch, and we will help you out in this journey. And so I remember them bringing her to me and, holding her, following the different cradling styles, the different positions, I guess you would say, the different nursing positions that were comfortable for me and most efficient for her to create a good latch. And let me just tell you, latching is a beast. I feel like a lot of us really, when we envision a nursing mother with her baby, you think that it's just the most natural, easy thing that both mom and baby would just immediately know how to do, right? You would think that it's just ingrained in the two of you that, this is so natural. This is how people since the beginning of time have had their first taste of food, right? If you're a baby back in the Stone Age days, back in the cave days, and you have a nursing mama, that this should be like the most natural, easiest thing in the world. It is not, because that is what I thought. Nobody told me how difficult breastfeeding could be. And so I know some moms who, they took to it like it was so easy and super simple, baby latched, and they were off to the races. My story is not the same. So I was doing everything the nurses and the lactation consultants in the hospital were telling me to do. I was holding her, in a certain way. I was paying attention, to how she was latching and all of that. And she just was not getting the best latch. And then therefore that was not stimulating the letdown of milk. These are all terms I had no idea what they meant, no clue they existed. Again, until I was in the hospital and until I started going down this path. Nobody prepared me prior to having my baby. Nobody prepared me about the breastfeeding journey and the obstacles that you could experience. So anyway, the latch was kind of not working out. We just weren't getting the best latch. So that meant the milk wasn't coming out and really baby wasn't getting sufficiently fed. So the good news is the hospital was very helpful. They said, well, what we need to do, since you've never nursed before and we definitely need to get baby her food, we're going to bring in a breast pump and you are going to pump to get the milk out and then you will bottle feed her. Now, of course, that is not ideal. There are certain hormones and just certain chemicals and things that are stimulated when baby is at breast nursing. But that is better than just giving up and throwing in the towel, right? I still knew that it would be worth it to get her my milk. And so they brought in a hospital grade pump for me to pump milk. And what do you know? The milk starts flowing, my friends. When I get all hooked up to the breast pump, the milk starts flowing. I'm able to fill up enough for her very first feed. And so I bottle fed her with my milk, which was still very exciting and, made me feel good to know that, hey, I made this and she is enjoying that. But, of course she sucked that down quickly and went fast to sleep. And next thing I knew, in a couple of hours, it was kind of just time to do it all over again. And so again, for those of you moms who have nursed before, you would know this, but again, if you're like me and you have no idea how this process works and you've never been through it before, you kind of have to, basically, the more times baby feeds, the more milk that gets made. And so similarly, the more often you pump, the more that stimulates more milk production. Okay. So basically I was having to, I attempted to nurse her directly from my breast every time it was time for her to feed, but we just continued to have these latching issues. And seriously, guys, trying every position, just, trying all of the things to get her to form this proper latch, and it just was not working out. So we kept trying, still just not sufficiently removing the milk from my breast to the baby. And so I kept having to pump while in the hospital to feed her. And so feed her through a hospital, baby bottle with my milk. So upon leaving the hospital, I remember feeling so deflated, which that's another thing, guys. There are so many things that can affect milk production, whether it's stress, sleep, diet, there's all kinds of things that can actually inhibit your milk production or decrease it. And so I was feeling a little stressed and a little defeated by not being able to do what I felt like I was made to do, what I should be able to do, which was directly breastfeed her. And so nonetheless, at least I was, and sorry for the background noise, guys, the dogs are losing their minds, must be somebody walking by in our neighborhood, but my apologies. I don't know if I can edit that out or not, but anyway, I was feeling a little defeated because of that. And so at least, I knew at least, like I said, it was worth it. Any of my milk that I could give her was worth that effort. And So anyway, it was still important to me to try. This is something you'll learn about my personality, is that I tend to try to exhaust all efforts with, I'm willing to try multiple scenarios to get the outcome that I'm trying to obtain. So anyway, I was trying to think, well, what else could I do if we're not getting this proper latch to feed her directly, who can help me? And so I was talking with a few nurses at the hospital, and I got some recommendations for some lactation consultants. Now, I didn't even know that such a profession existed, but truly there are people who are trained and certified as lactation consultants. So I remember mine like it was yesterday. Her name was Kimberly. I've still got her in my phone somewhere. So if any of you mamas if you're in Middle Tennessee, you need a good lactation consultant, I've got the hookup for you. So I called Kimberly. We set an appointment. Within 24 hours, she was at our home and she was walking me through, again, different positions. And, we were just kind of troubleshooting what some things could be. And she ended up giving me this device that was called a nipple shield. And I'm not even kidding when I say this. It was this little clear, kind of rubbery, plasticky, I don't know what exactly the material was. I would say it was kind of rubbery, I guess, but it was clear. It kind of looked like a little miniature sombrero, but basically it was this small plastic or rubber device, this shield that goes over your nipple, and it helps to train the baby. I guess it just makes it a little more defined, almost as if they're trying to drink out of a bottle. It kind of makes your breast a little more to that shape, I guess you would say. So we use that nipple shield, and I will never forget. So the baby can nurse while you're wearing that nipple shield. And my lactation consultant told me, you'll want to use that nipple shield for, say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I think it was. Don't hold me to that. But the goal is to use it less and less. So again, the immediate goal is just to get baby to nurse directly from you, right? And so we want to use that as often as we need to, for as many feedings the first week or so as needed to have baby nurse directly from the breast. And then the idea was that you would little by little use the nipple shield maybe intermittently, but between the different feedings, so that baby can kind of get used to latching without that nipple shield. And so I am pleased to say that thanks to my lactation consultant and the use of this incredible little rubbery device, this little rubber sombrero for your nipple, we were off straight up and running with breastfeeding. And so kudos to Kimberly, the lactation consultant. I cannot tell you enough, mama, if that is something you're struggling with, or if, again, if this is something you've never even heard of, just anticipate that could potentially be an obstacle. So if breastfeeding is really important to you, and you were experiencing some similar issues as we were, know that there are ways that you can overcome that obstacle. Now, so it got to the point, I would say after about a month or so, we didn't even need that little nipple shield any longer. Baby was able to latch, and just like it was second nature then. She nursed just beautifully, just perfectly. And those are some of my most precious moments from that first year. Now, I did nurse for a year, and I will say near the end, it kind of got less frequent. There are some mamas who I know they will nurse their kid until they're 2. I don't know how many would go beyond that. And if you do, more power to you. Hey, breast milk it truly is like gold. There's a reason they say it's gold. It heals scratches, crazy enough. If baby scratches their arm or whatever, you can put a little breast milk on it, and it is it makes it that little scratch vanish in no time. It's crazy. And also too with, there are so many benefits of breastfeeding and of breast milk that I'm not going to get into here. Maybe we will get into that in a different episode. In episode 3 here, I really just wanted to share with you my journey in breastfeeding and latching and just share some of the obstacles we did have to overcome so that you know what to expect. And yes, we will do a whole other episode on the benefits of it, the pros, the cons, and this is a judgment-free zone. Something I want to share with you. Maybe you say that breastfeeding just is not for you, and straight out of the gate, you just want to use formula. That's okay. Zero judgment here. At the end of the day, you've got to do what is best for you and what is best for your baby. And you've got to stay sane. You've got to make sure your baby is satisfied. And if that means you're going to use formula, then you are a great mom because you are providing for your baby. You are feeding your baby. You're keeping your baby healthy. And so I want to say that by no means do I think formula is something that should not be considered. In fact, so what I want to share with you next is, kind of near the end of my breastfeeding journey. So I nursed my baby until her 1-year birthday. Okay. And what happened though was, and this will be a whole other episode, but I kind of went through some personal things, starting really when she was about 3 months old. And certainly when she was 6 months, I was hit with some information that was it was life shattering and totally unexpected. And that really impacted my ability to produce. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of factors that can play into milk production, and stress is one of them. And so I was actually going through some really stressful times right about the time she turned 6 months old. And so, but I persisted. It was still very important to me to do that for her. I knew it would be worth it. And so anyway, I persisted up until her first birthday. And I will say those last like 6 or 8 weeks, I did have to supplement with formula. I think I was really anticipating like, okay, we're near the end of this breastfeeding journey. And two, because of the circumstances I was experiencing at that time, again, I was really going through some pretty stressful conversations and interactions in my personal life. And so that really impacted my production. So it was harder for me to fit in pumping throughout the day. So, I do work full time. I work a full-time job, and as a nursing mom, as a breastfeeding mom, what that meant was I took my pump with me to the office every day. And while baby was at daycare, she would drink the breast milk I sent with her to school every day. And then while I was at work, I would pump every 2 to 3 hours or so. And then I would take that milk home with me. And then that's what she would take the next day to school. And so as you can imagine, that is and was a lot of work. So anyway, I was able to pump less and less frequently due to some of the things I was going through at that time. And so what that did, that really affected my supply because I needed to be modeling my pump times to her meal times. So for example, if she had a bottle 4 times a day, I needed to be modeling my pumping schedule to match that so that I was producing enough milk for her to have 4 feedings every day, right? So anyway, I was really having to pump less and less. And so I was not producing enough for her to be satisfied with her bottles, right? So that's when I did actually have to start supplementing with some formula so that she would have enough food every day. So she, like I was saying earlier, as an example, if she was having 4 bottles a day, well, at that time, my milk supply, maybe I was only able to produce 2.5, maybe 3 bottles a day. So that meant I was having to supplement 1 or 2 bottles with formula. And you know what? that's okay. That is completely okay. And again, I just want to reiterate, if you are an all formula mama, that is okay too. Zero judgment here. So anyway, that is my breastfeeding and nursing journey. I did it for a year. Like I said, I was working full time while doing that too. So, and as I mentioned, as if you go back to the beginning of this episode, it got off to a rocky start. Nursing was not easy to get up and running off the ground for me. So if you are having a similar experience and it's something that's really important to you to make happen, then know that you can do it, mama. Know there are ways, there are specialists out there who can help you. And at the end of the day, if it's just not meant to be, if you just find out that the breastfeeding journey just is too hard or you just can't do it, that is okay too. Formula is a fine option. Hear me say that. You are a super mom. You are taking care of a baby. You are taking care of yourself and your family. And at the end of the day, you just want baby to be full and satisfied and healthy, right? Well, that's a wrap for today's show. Make sure you check out today's show notes at secretmomhacks.com/episode 81. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Secret Mom Hacks. I appreciate you spending time with me today and hope you found today's topic helpful. If that's the case, please follow me on your favorite podcast platform if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating and leave a review sharing your favorite takeaway so far. You can do all of that by going to ratethispodcast.com/secretmomhacks. Don't forget to stop by secretmomhacks.com where you can find resources and enter your email address so every new show is delivered straight to your inbox. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and until then, you've got this, mama.